Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to round 12 of the Tata Steel Chess 2022. This is Sagar Shah and welcoming you to another fun filled day of chess learning, excitement, lot of action. Today is the penultimate round and the tournament will come to an end tomorrow. So we're going to have a lot of fun, but at the same time we'll also have a guest joining in later today, so that will be fun. Maybe you guys can guess who that will be. And yes, people are saying Arjun already won the challenger, so Arjun OP already happening in the chat. I think he draw his game. He drew his game. So the only person who can now catch him up is Jonas Bier, right? If he wins today and tomorrow. But even then, Arjun might have a better tie break. So he will win. Just to show you guys what has happened. Here is the challenger standing. Arjun was on 9 points and he drew with Nguyen Thaidai 1. Actually, Nguyen Thaidai 1 won yesterday, so he was on 7.5. So he's on 9.5 now. So if Jonas Bier wins, he will be on 8.5. But then Arjun, tomorrow also Jonas Bier has to win to reach 9.5, which is the same score as Arjun. But Arjun's tie break is much better. So yeah, or maybe he head to head he is already beaten Jonas. So that's how Arjun is already the champion, and we will have a guest today joining in who is related to him. Let's see how you guys guess it or not. In the in the masters section we have Magnus Carlsen, who is on 7.5, Richard Rapport on 7, Anish Giri on 6.5, Mamedyarov on 6.5, Esipenko 6, Karjakin 6, and Vidit on 6. Praggnanandhaa today is not playing. He will move to 4.5 because he's got a walkover against Dubov. Dubov is not playing. He has tested COVID positive, so he won't be playing in the remaining games. Yes, you guys are right. We will have Srinath joining in at some point. People are saying Suhani Shah is live. Well, Suhani Shah, our very good friend, it's her birthday today. So wishing her a very happy birthday. And the funny thing is that Suhani is just 1 day younger to me. She was also born in 1990. So nice to know these things. Let's go to the game. And today we are looking at three very exciting games. First of all, we have Magnus Carlsen, who's taking on Fabiano Caruana. So that is one game that we are going to definitely keep our eyes on, and I'll be taking you through that. But also another game which I want to start off with is Vidit versus Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. So let's go through that game. Shashwat says, Sagarbai, will you make a video on chess being included in Asian Games? Yeah, sure. Chess is included in Asian Games, I know that. And Anand being the mentor of the team. Ooh, I was not aware of this. Um, where is it mentioned that Anand is the mentor of the team? That's very good news if that is true. Okay, e4, e5. And by the way, Vidit has very interesting opening choices here. He went for one d4 against some opponents, and he's going for one e4. I remember he played it with Esipenko, and he's also playing it against Mamedyarov. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5. Okay. Great. Anand will be mentor. India Today reported. Okay, that's great. I'll try to get more information on that tomorrow and update you guys. So this is known as the Italian or the Giuco piano or the Gioco piano. And with it now played the move c3. So if black is not careful, then white will get d4 and will have a very comfortable center. So black goes knight f6, and now as we know that d4 is playable but not the the not the main line, like we have seen this line getting popular, e5, knight e4, cd4, you know, that oh sorry, e5, d5, bishop b5 and knight e4. So that is one way to play, but Vidit goes very solid. He plays the move d3, and now d6 was played, castles, and now black Mamedyarov played the move h6. Vidit went for rook to e1. Now black castled. Vidit now played his knight to d2. It's very simple what white wants to do. He wants to play his knight to f1 to g3. Typical plan. Bishop b6 was played here, and now h3 was played by Vidit. So very common Italian play. In fact, if we see such, by the way, instead of bishop b6, often there is also a6 and the bishop goes back to a7. That is also played. But this is all very standard stuff. I just want to show you how many times this position has actually occurred, and you will get an idea about how popular this position is. So if we look here in our ChessBase 16 plus mega database board, look at this. So this position has already been played 136 times, right, in this position, and it has been played by many good players like MVL, Dominguez, Esipenko, Alexienko, and with black, Carlsen has played it, Caruana, and so on. Now what happened after this is that Mamedyarov said, look, if in an ideal world the knight on c6 is not well placed, which is the best place for that knight? Can anyone tell me on the board, if you were asked to put this knight on a better square, which one would that be? What square would be better to put the knight on? Ethical Gambit says f4, Fox y3, oh yes, f4, but you get to f4 via a square. g6, yes, no, very good answer. Yogesh Singh Pal, Kushagra Gupta. Rakshit says best way to feel better when you're down with COVID is to watch Sagar coming here daily to stream regardless of his health or sleepiness. Great inspiration. Well, Rakshit, I hope you are okay and get well soon. Monster Legends, yes. Ashish Kumar, fantastic. So the move is knight e7, because if you can get your knight here, that would be great. So d4 was played by Vidit. He saw that the knight moved away and he instantly hit in the center. And now Mamedyarov came back to c6. So he not only controlled e5, but he is also hitting d4. Now, it is quite possible to go even to g6. This is very much playable, and this is what Vidit could have done. I mean, Mamedyarov could have done. But the point of c6 is that you're not only holding the e5 pawn, but you also want to take and win a pawn here. So my question to all of you here is, what happens if Vidit just reinforces the pawn with knight f1? It's a very typical idea here. What do you do with black to play? Let's see. Bhanu Pratap says I would take on e4. Not a bad idea, Bhanu Pratap. Roll number 80 also says that. Samarth Gandhi says d5. Supercomp also says d5. Chess Tactics, Savita Chess, Aki's channel. Very good. I like that all of you want to do something right now. Shubham Ranadev. The main thing is that because the center is right now fluid, there are moves like knight e4. There is also d5 in the air. The only problem I think with d5 is that after e takes d5, you're going to lose the e5 pawn next. So it's not the best solution here. It's not a good move. Knight e4 I like, by the way, because then after rook e4 you have d5, and I think black is doing well. Maybe knight e4 I should play bishop d5 and then get the e5 pawn later. However, the best move here, and I think not many of you were able to find, let me see if anyone could actually say that. Monsters legend, well done. Shaibi Binoj, well done. These are the people who have said it. You take on d4, and now after cd4, now you go knight e4. The only difference is that later on this bishop d5 will not win you the e5 pawn. So this works out perfectly, and then d5, and black is better here. So first taking on d4 would have been good. Also here a very typical idea apart from knight e4. Can anyone tell me what is the typical idea here? Knight e4 is definitely possible and is the best move. But there is also another move which is decent. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the best, but just so that you know the idea. Yes, Supercom, Learn with PV, Pranshu Gupta, Easy Kitchen, Salvador. Very good. The idea is D5. Savita Chess, Fast Curious, Himesh Jain, Saswat Parida, Tizya Kumar, Vomesh, Tanushri, Shubham, Sarthak. Fantastic. You know, I'm very glad that all of you are putting in your mind and basically breaking up the white center. This is also around equal, the position. So that's the reason why knight c6 suddenly becomes a very powerful move, because you're taking and then knight e4 is a massive threat. So here Vidit now plays a move which is very, very interesting and very surprising. He plays the move a4, and if you look at the time, Vidit has 1 hour 36 minutes and Mamedyarov has very little time, has 1 hour 42 minutes. But let's just have a look at the ChessBase board to see if how many times this has happened. So there are few games here. Alexienko Caruana, Savian versus Oparin, Pavlidis versus Dobrovich, and Audi Amaya versus Suat Atalik. And A4 was played by Alexienko against Caruana. So Vidit is well prepared with this game. It happened at the Candidates 2021. And this is where I say to you guys that all these top players keep an eye out on the important games that are going on. So let's imagine that Vishy Anand right now is not playing right in this tournament. He would definitely be going through all the games, or his second would be going, so that he can then make sure that the main moves or the main updates in the openings that they play are updated with them. So A4 is, I feel, a very, how do you say, the fire is on, some house is on fire and you're putting the fire brigade somewhere else. It seems like that. But the main point is that you want to trap the bishop with A5. So here, Mamedyarov said, I'll just take this pawn, which looks logical, right? Now, Vidit took back c takes d4. And now the question to you is, what happens if I play knight takes d4? Why is this move not a good move? Oh, Sam won. Amazing. That was a great game. We should look at that. Sam Shankland versus Karjakin. Chaitanya says, what are your thoughts on yesterday Vidit interview where Lennart asked about you? Yeah, it was very nice. A very pleasant addition to my already very nice birthday, where Vidit spoke such good things about me, and I'm very grateful to him. Also, a big thanks to Lennart for asking such questions. You know, it's very memorable. Well, the point is you could play a5. This is definitely a move that is being suggested. but after knight takes f3, knight takes f3, bishop c5, black is still okay. I mean, white is better here as well. After the pawn, like you go bd2 with the idea of b4, trying to trap the bishop, but he goes a6, you play b4, and then he goes bishop a7, and black is doing okay. So the right move here, and the one which has been mentioned by Supercomp, Tizya Kumar, Hira Kakoti, and Bhanu Pratap Singh, very good Bhanu Pratap. Yes, no, you are there. Like you said that you must take, and play knight f3, but then knight f3 there is bishop c5 as we just noticed. The right move here is knight b3. It's an excellent move, hitting the bishop, and once you go back, I'm going to take. You have to take back with the pawn, and now I can move my queen away to c2, threatening e5, threatening bishop takes h6, queen g6 check then, because this pawn is pinned and it can become very nasty here, the attack, and white is much better. So there we have it. After a4, e takes d4, c takes d4, you can't take with the knight. So the natural question is, what happens if I take with the bishop? Well, here the main point is that if you go knight b3, black can go bishop e5. So here you take, he takes, and you're going to play on the advantage of two bishops after b4. You can put your bishop on b2 and have these two bishops on the long diagonal and claim excellent compensation. So that is how that would work. So Mamedyarov here decided to play d5, which was a very risky move here. You know, he could have played a5 here. Black could have gone a5, but he played d5, e takes, knight takes, and here I think Vidit missed his chance to get a great position. So it's your move now, white to move. What should Vidit have played here? What happened to Surya game? Surya is playing against Erwin Lamy. Again, an excellent game. I think he was worse, but a very interesting game is going on. Savita Chess, Sanchit Arora, Vaibhav Dubey, Mamba, Severus Snape, Ekam Diol, Nasir Sheikh, Vivek, Arpit Sharma, Senthil Amutan, Jelly is Life, Satyam Singh, Monsters Legend. Brilliant, guys. The move is knight e4. This is the correct move. And now actually the point is that after say something like bishop e6, it seems like black is doing really well, but in comes a very shocking move here, and I want you to think about it. A very shocking idea, white to move. Think about it. It's actually, I'm very impressed if someone can find this move here. There are two ideas which are very good. Let's see if who can find this. Oh, Mamba, fantastic. Ambika Harikrishna, very good. Rishabh Singhvi, Saksham Kaul, Savita Chess, Learn with PV, Tizya Kumar, Vaibhav Dubey, Severus Snape, Tanushri Gururaj, Amit Sinha. Fantastic, guys. Also, Abhinav Kamath, I like your move. That's a very creative idea. So here the main move is bishop takes h6, and it's a very interesting sacrifice actually if you think about it. Like black takes, and then you play your queen to d2, and it actually attacks this pawn on h6, which you don't want to give up. So you play king h7, and now I can go a5, trapping this bishop. So that was the plan. And now maybe after knight a5, rook a5, bishop a5, queen a5. Okay, black is exchange up, but white has excellent compensation. The black king is weak. So that was one way to play. The other way, which was very nice and which had been mentioned by a few of you, is rook a3, so that the rook can later swing over to g3 after knight e5, and that could become a very powerful idea in the position. However, Vidit played a little bit soft move here. He played b3, and I think Vidit's plan was that he wanted to put his bishop on b2, knight on e4, and the other knight on e5, which is good. But he first of all closes this plan. Second of all, the bishop is slightly more passive here. So bishop e6, he went knight e4, rook e8, bishop b2, and now knight went to a5. So Shakriyar is saying to Vidit that, look, I'm trying to put pressure on c4 point. Vidit says that, look, Shak, if you want to take on c4, be my guest. This is something that I'm more than happy to give you. I'll take back with the pawn, then push forward with d5. So Vidit here goes knight e5. He goes forward, and now white piece is looking good. Here c6 was played, and Vidit now built up the pressure further with queen f3. You can see that the position is actually heating up like anything, right? Because all the pieces are on the board, and Vidit wants to, by the way, get his rook in the center. Shak goes f6 now. He attacks Vidit's knight, and Vidit had an option here to decide where should his knight go, because one option is here, other option is here. These are the two moves available. Knight g6 is also another option. What would you have played, guys? Savita Chess says b2 bishop is passive because d4 pawn is blocked. True, but also it is well guarded, and the knight on e5 is pretty strong because of the control here. Kadambini Kumari says knight d3. Devesh Upadhyay says knight g4. Tizia and Sanchit want to go knight g4. Amit Sinha wants to go knight g6. So Swastik Sahu knight g4. Lot of people, and actually all moves are very much possible. Vidit went knight d3, and perhaps the engines do not like it so much. The move that is liked a lot is knight g4, and the point of this move, and actually it's not so easy to understand, is that after f5, here white plays this very tricky move, knight e f6 check. You can't take with the knight because of rook takes e6. Look at this line. Knight takes f6, rook takes e6, and otherwise this. Or I can even play bishop takes e6 here, and white is much better after rook e6, knight h6, gh6, and rook e6. So that is not good. So first, actually, knight f6, if you take gf6, then I'll take knight h6 check, king g7, and now rook takes e6, rook takes e6, and knight takes f5. And once again, this is a big massive attack with the bishops perhaps popping here, the queen entering here. It is very powerful. Okay. So knight g4, let's assume that he first takes here, and now plays f5. But then you have knight h6, gh6, and knight c5 attacking this bishop. If you were to take here, I take dc5, opening up this bishop with the threat here. So that becomes another dangerous attack. So with it, you know, the main reason why I'm showing you these lines is because the move knight g4 is not a simple one for humans, because you are always afraid of f5 and you say to yourself, oh, I'm losing a piece. But the engines generally go deeper and they figure out that actually it's not a big problem. So Okay, so in the game, guys, what was played was knight d3 by Vidit. He could have also gone to g6. And now Shakhriyar went bishop f7. Vidit brought his rook up to e2. He wants to double here, which is a natural idea. Bishop went back to c7. And now the rook came to e1. The game is now very, very hot. We have 21 moves and both players are actually Vidit is low on time, but there are all the minor pieces on the board. Akira Chinua says, what advice would you give for new journalists who are interested in chess and want to make it a career? Any tips for freshers? I just feel like you should be interested in covering things. You should have the energy to put up things, share what is going on. I mean, just enjoy what you are doing. If you like chess, if you like giving updates, if you are keen on it, it's a growing sport, and journalism and anything related to it is definitely has a lot of options. By the way, Shakhriyar could have gone a6 with the idea of b5, but he decides to go b6, taking into control the c5 square. And now Vidit is thinking he has 24 minutes, and as someone mentioned, Shakhriyar is going to put pressure on Vidit of time here, and that could happen because Vidit is down to 24 minutes. He has still 19 moves to make. What will you play here with white? White to move. Actually, it's an important moment in the game now. Vidit does have his pieces well stacked up, like knights are well positioned. Maybe there is one piece which is not doing so well. So think about it. 1K challenge with 0 videos, you are right. Rishabh Singhvi, Shreyas Karthik, Mrigang Gupta, Harsha Aditya, Abhinav Shaibi, Dhruv. Very good, guys. The move is bishop to c1, and what a move this is. The main thing is always ask yourself, there is this very nice thing that you learn in chess and also in life, is that you always keep an eye on which is the worst placed piece in your camp. And also maybe if you are at work, you will see that which is the worst resource that you are making use of. And if you can make better use of that resource, then indirectly everything in your organization or in your position improves, right? So in that sense, Vidit said that this bishop here is my worst placed piece on b2. So let me do something. Let me get it into the game with bishop c1. And this is what I think he should be doing. And he's played it. He's played bishop c1. Mr. Great 123 says, hi Sagar, is Vidit 2740 a possibility in this tournament? If he wins this game, yes, because he's on 2733. And if he wins this, he would get like 4 to 5 elo points. Then would be a very big reality, right? 2-7. And let's see, it's an important. He's played bishop c1. And now, guys, the threats are many. One of the threat is bishop takes h6, gh6, bishop d. So let's say if I play a move like rook b8, just for the sake of argument, then bishop takes h6, gh6. And now, what is the move here? Very quickly. Asim Khan says, check Yan tweet. Oh, really? Yan Nepo. I mean, on Twitter, these days, we have like so many... I sometimes feel scared to open Twitter. People are making like dangerous statements. I just wonder if Sam Shankland will apologize for going for a more or less known drawish line with white. And then he says jinxed a little because Shankland won. Nice. At least that was non-controversial there. Yeah, Nikhil Sharma, Kadambari Kumari, Dikshit, Aditya Bhopale. Just take on d5. And then after he takes with whatever, you take on f6, e8 is hanging, you have double rooks here, and this is winning. So this is a big threat. Bishop h6, g h6, and bishop d5. How should Shakhriyar Mamedyarov handle it is the question. How will we know if we are selected for India's Got Chess Talent? Bhanu Pratap, first I will receive all the entries. There are, by the way, all those who would like to apply for it, please do so. It's the first link in the description. We have over 300 people who have applied for it, but so many of you are struggling to make one database with multiple games in it, one PGN5, which I feel is bad. Because if you just Google how to do it, you will get it. And if you can't do it, I'm very surprised, yeah, that Vaibhav Gautam says, if bishop h6, can we not take on c4? Well, Vaibhav, maybe after bishop c1, let's say rook b8, if bishop h6, knight c4, but then I'll take back with the pawn, and anyway the knight will be attacked, right? So he has played rook to e6, and now he's defending his pawn on f6 in a very interesting way, because now if bishop h6, g h6, this is still playable, I guess. Bishop d5, c d5, and now maybe queen g4. I'm not sure. I mean, I think Vidit can sacrifice something here, because this is really being asked for, you know, take, queen g4, check. This rook is, although protected, is slightly loose in the position. Bishop d2 is a positional move. I think more in the style of Vidit. G3 also more in the style of Vidit. But I would be very interested if Vidit takes here. The main point is that after take, queen g4 check, already the position is quite hot here. And the question is that after king, let's say h7 here, which is very interesting, white can go for a very dynamic sacrifice. Can you find it? Yeah, chess is fun. Bishop takes h6 can be played. Polaris says time is the biggest factor in this game. I agree. Vidit will come under pressure, that is for sure. But let's see. Yes, Arjun has won the tournament challengers. We are going to invite his trainer Srinath today to join at some point and to get his thoughts. That would be very interesting to talk about it, and maybe after the tournament tomorrow, I will try to also speak with Arjun as to, you know, how he managed to do it. Yeah, Rishabh Jaiswal, Hardik Vyas, Nikhil Sharma, Belligerent, Vaibhav Gautam, very good. Knight g5. And let's say you take at g5, I take on e6, bishop e6, and rook e6. And you might ask me, ki, what did you gain? Because black is still a piece up. But the problem is that the king is very lonely and all of black pieces are a little bit to the side. And that is why this can result in a very big attack. For example, after take, and knight f4, trying to exchange pieces, I take, bishop takes, and now g3, bishop d6, bishop goes back. You are a piece up, but after queen f5, king g7. This is a big issue now, that your rook is outside the game, and for now my two pieces are playing. And look at this move, h4, just continuing the attack with two pieces, trying to angle for h5 or h takes g5. And if you were to take gh4, I go queen g4 check, and now after king f7, rook e4, threatening queen e6 followed by rook g4. It's a massive attack, and it's a very beautiful line. Shows how quality sometimes is very important. But with it, as we just said, plays the move bishop d2, which is more to his style. He brings his bishop here, attacks the knight on a5, and I think this is also an excellent move in the position. So let's go to some other game. bd2 is played. Oh, by the way, Shak has taken b takes c4. With its position now looks like very nice. Although black has the bishop pair. Look at these two knights. If we talk to the pieces, the knight is like, yeah, I'm in amazing position. I'm leading my pack. The knight on d3 is like, bhai, apun bhi hai, tere saath, will come in, knight f4. I'm ready to some point sacrifice myself. Please let me know where. Bishop is like, when do I have to sacrifice? Rooks are like, oh, let's get it going. Just move away. Knight on e4. We are ready to back and come in there. So, knight e7 has been played by Mamedyarov here. And I think Vidit has a very nice move here in this position. Can you find it? And it talks about our imbalance theory. When, and I'll ask, so write down your move and also tell me a rule that you know already of imbalance theory. White to move. Oh, what's the rule also, guys? What's the rule? Let me see. Yes, Siddharth Bhatt, very good. Yes, Savita Chess, very good. Well, Giridhar, not really, but yes, Suyash Swaroop, excellent. Sudhanshu Tripathi, fantastic. So the move here, well, when your opponent has the bishop pair, and if you can exchange one of it, it is a good idea. And here, more than even exchanging, you can't even take it, right? Because I'll take with the knight and your rook is trapped. So bishop f4 kills many birds with the same stone. Bishop f4 is very powerful. Safed B Kala B says Fabi versus MC reminds of 2018 World Championship rematch with Rosolimo variation. Yes, I will check that game right away. And did you check Vidit's interview yesterday? That was very sweet. Very nice. Yeah, Vidit's interview was very good. I actually thanked Vidit for those kind words and also thanked Leonard for asking about me. Generally, we are used to working and doing what we are doing, and every now and then when such a gesture comes from some interviewer or some great player, that really motivates you to keep going. Of course, we are internally motivated to work, but it's always nice to get such things, and I thank them for that. I mean, natural move also, like you see that this pawn is hanging and you want to put your bishop here. But I think that Vidit will find bishop f4. It's so natural. It's such a nice move. Why is knight takes f6 sack not working, says Nitesh Khandelwal. Very good question, Nitesh. It would have worked if not for rook takes f6, and you would have considered that you can take the knight, but unfortunately your queen is attacked. So that's the only reason that is not working. Okay, let's go to the game that you guys have been talking a lot about. Caruana versus Magnus. So Caruana is white, Magnus is black. E4, C5. I like how Magnus is going for dynamic play and not E4, E5. This is his last game of the tournament because Dubov is his last round opponent with whom he will not get a game. So Magnus wants to really make this count. Rosolimo on the board, G6, castles, bishop G7, C3, knight F6, rook E1, defending the pawn, castles, building up the center. Now there are two ways to play. One is to take on D5, D4 and then play D5, or one is to play directly D5. Both lead to slightly different games. E5, knight E4, bishop E3, C takes D4, C takes D4, queen B6, queen E2, bishop D7, bishop A4, rook to C8 was played, knight to C3, and now Magnus took, pawn takes, queen D8. The reason for playing queen D8 is you want to play knight A5 and take advantage of this, but your bishop is hanging here, so queen D8. Now, can anyone tell me what are the two major imbalances in this position? Let's see who can tell me. Super chat was by I think I missed one super chat. Karthik Tiwari. We need to attach to PGN. No, only one in India's Got Chess Talent. Unknown, thank you so much for your nice comment. Charu Vijay Shekhar, I love that you said C3 weakness. Yes, also Arav Arora. Harsh Kumar says space. Very good, Harsh. White has more space. White has weakness. Anyone else who can tell me all the weaknesses? C4, Uday Kiran, very good. I don't think E4 is very weak because you always have F3 in hand. But C4 definitely is a weakness over there. Tizia Kumar, yes, you are right. So C3 and C4, I think, are the major weaknesses. But white has space and the bishop on G7 is slightly unhappy. So bishop B3, attacking this pawn, knight A5 came in. If you were to take on D5, there would be rook takes C3. So rook AC1, he snapped off the bishop. AB3. Now this time things have changed now. C3 no longer so weak because pawn has joined in. C4 not at all weak. But black now has the bishop pair. So you see how imbalances trade hands. Now it's bishop pair versus space. Queen B6, Queen A2, A5, Queen A3, attacking this pawn here. Rook Fe8. You notice how black is not easily playing E6. The reason is that black wants to later hit with F6 in the position, and if he goes E6, then his dark squares could become weak. So he goes rook F E8, C4, take, Queen A3, C5, and this is the position on the board. Very interesting situation has arisen with great massive imbalances. Now you have a passed pawn in the position. You also have bishop pair, but white has so much space here. Loving this entire battle between two of the greatest chess players of the current era, with the idea of D5 in the position, getting more space, E6 in the air. Guys, this is going to be very exciting. Let's see who's able to come out on top here. Yes, we will also check the game of Shankland versus Karjakin, but here I have a feeling that right now Magnus might go B6 as a move, or bishop C6. That looks great, putting the bishop on this diagonal. Ishan Rai, thank you for becoming backer of Indian Chess. First member for today. Let's quickly look at if there's any update in the Vidit game. No, he's thinking still after 97. Rightly so, he's thinking. But guys, 16 more moves to make in just 11 minutes. That is definitely worrying. So Vidit, I think, has to find bishop f4. If he doesn't find, maybe the game could. But do you know bishop f4? There is f5. No, Vidit is down to 11 minutes. Let's also look quickly at the game of Anish Giri. Oh my god! When I was going to shift, Vidit has just sacrificed on h6. Whoa! Whoa! Amazing. Okay, in a way it's a simple sacrifice, because if you take here, what is the problem? Quickly, Praggnanandhaa is not playing Shivam Namdev. He was against Dubov, and Dubov is not here. This is simple, right? Knight takes f6. Absolutely. Knight takes f6 and game is over, because e6 is hanging, and if you were to anyway give up your rook here, then this is already winning advantage for white, completely crushing. So I think Shak cannot take on h6 here. So what do you do is the question. In a way, if you think about it, this pawn was not very important, right? Because yeah, if you take, then it spoils the structure. But if I just go and grab the d4 pawn, Vidit can say that yes, I took a pawn, but how does it weaken the position of the black king? Not so sure. But here, he can go bishop f4 back. Very powerful move actually. And then after take, I can take on f4 and rook e5. And now queen g4 or something, or knight d3 back, attacking here. It looks great. So after bishop takes h6, actually Mamedyarov has a very interesting possibility, which is to stop with its bishop f4, and that is to go knight g6. But I have a feeling that knight g6 is too cool a move to play. Like your opponent has just snatched a pawn and you don't really care, and you play this move to stop bishop f4. I don't think that's going to happen. Also here, bishop takes g7 could be another sacrifice that comes into the position, wrecking black's king side. So I have a feeling that knight g6 is not going to happen, but queen takes d4 definitely highly possible, and then bishop drops back, and Vidit has a great position here. I think white has very promising situation here. So let's see how this game develops. Right now, let's go to Anish Giri versus Nils Grandelius. Anish is playing with white. It was Grunfeld, but the solid variation of the Grunfeld, which starts with c6. So one is the dynamic variation, which is the normal way to play the Grunfeld, d5. But when you play c6 d5 against g3 setup, I call it the solid variation, and it's called by many. d5, queen b3, castles, bishop g2, dc, queen c4, bishop f5, castles, knight bd7, a4, rook c8, a5, b5, ab, bishop f4, bishop e6, queen d3, bishop f5, queen a6. Well, guys, I have one small question to you. How many can answer within 10 seconds? Okay, I'm going to count till 10. e4, why is this a blunder? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Guys, oh, Savita chess, fantastic Savita, well done, very quick. Anyone else? Raged Warrior, Tizia Kumar, Akshay Agarwal. Lim Kian Guan Mamba, fantastic guys. Knight c5, and you can't take it because queen is hanging. Otherwise, e4 is going. Very typical. In fact, once Vidit he didn't beat me. The game ended in a draw, but this was the same tactic he had used. So this is a very common one. Queen a6, h6, rook fd1, knight d5. Anish took, pawn takes, queen b7, g5, bishop d2, g4, and he's gone knight e1. This is the position on the board right now. d5 pawn is hanging, so he goes e6. Well, Nils' position looks scary in a way because his structure is slightly weak. Anish looks quite solid, to be frank. Like bishop f4 looks good, rook a7 looks nice. I think white has a small but nice advantage here. Meanwhile, in the Vidit game, Shakhriyar now has 46 minutes to think and come up with a good plan here. Like, he has a lot of time, and I think he will take his time here. This is an important moment, and if he can come up with knight g6, that is going to be super impressive. Let's go quickly to Shankland versus Sergey Karjakin, because this game was, I think, the game of the day until now. f3, c5, d5, b5, e4, d6, bishop d2, a6, a4, bishop takes e4, bishop c4, knight d7, de, fe, bishop takes e6, knight e5, queen, bishop c8, queen c8. So black has given up a pawn in return for getting his piece activated nicely. Bishop f4, c4 has been played here. You can't take the pawn on d6 because the bishop now controls it. So you take on e5 because knight d3 check was a big threat. You take back, knight h3, and now bishop to c5, queen e2, rook b8, knight f2, and here Karjakin makes a mistake. He goes queen b7, and the main reason is his miscalculation. By the way, he should have gone here maybe queen c6 or some other move like knight h5, but he went here. Oh, Shak blundered. Shak took on d4. Oh, he's taken on d4. We'll come back. By the way, castles, queen b2. What should white play, guys? White to move. Important moment. Going back to Shak game. Dharmik Thanki says, how to read any running game quickly? What are the key points to notice? What's happening in the position? Imbalance theory. Go and study those 16 lessons that I've done with Biswa Vaibhav. Imbalance theory. It's very cool. You'll love it. Ram Gopal, Ramaneni, Tizya Kumar, Shreyas Karthik, Suraj Prithvi. Very good. Many of you are saying rook b1. Not a bad plan, guys. Rook b1. The only problem is that after queen e2, rook b8 check, because I think that was your plan, right? Oops. Sorry. I just touched the wrong button and it all broke. Yeah, sorry. Fixing it. Yeah, queen b2, rook b1. The problem is that after queen e2, if I take rook takes b8, you go king d7, not e7, because then there is rook b7 check and knight e2. I'm rook up, but I'll go king d7. You give me a check now. By the way, if you take the queen, I will take your rook. So you go check and I go king c6, and I keep an eye here, and black is doing fine. So rook b1 somehow doesn't work, but the right move and a very beautiful move is queen takes c4. And after that, it is winning. Let's come back to the game. Let's quickly check what's up with Vidit and Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. After what? Vidit has made a massive blunder. Knight e7, bishop takes h6, queen takes d4, and here, as we discussed, queen bishop f4 was the move, and Vidit would have got a very pleasant position because this bishop is hanging. If you go back with the queen, then I can just take on c7, queen takes c7, and there are many ways to take advantage. One of them is knight f4. The knights look menacing. Knight f6 is in the air. It is looking very strong and powerful for white. But Vidit decided that he has to play queen g4 here, and everything wins for Vidit apart from f5. How did he miss f5? I think if you can see Vidit right now, he must be completely destroyed. Very sad that he missed this move, because now queen g7 check is not a mate. The queen protects it. Oops, sorry. And also there is a pawn fork. So it's a very simple blunder that has been made here. No, it's not a board error or anything. I think Vidit simply missed that his opponent can play f5 here. Maybe in his head it was like he might have to go knight g6 and I will take knight f6 and I will then win this, or he will go back and then I will take on e6, bishop e6, rook e6, and I'm completely winning. So it was a blind spot, and as I've told you guys again and again, blunders do not happen in vacuum. The main reason why this blunder happened is because Vidit had only 10 minutes left and he had to make 14 moves. And sometimes that pressure gets to you. You remember that, oh, in my game against someone, I was better and then I couldn't handle the time so well. So let me play quickly a few moves. No, I mean, it's over. The main reason why this is over, guys, is because next move I just win a piece. And the queen, I mean, what do you do? Can you play bishop e3? Oh, but if you play bishop e3, there is no longer a mate here. You just take on d3. I mean, what else could, like, if you're looking at this position, queen g4 is such a tempting move, because you are basically creating two threats. One threat is knight takes f6 and the other threat is queen g7. And I keep telling you guys, and I think even Vidit says this often, always end the calculation with opponent's move. So in your head, when you play queen g4, you have to ask, what will my opponent do? But that's the difficult part about chess. No matter how many years you play, you just cannot master everything. And can we play knight f6 here? Arav says, yes, you can, but then I just take with the queen and you've lost a piece. Yes, you can go rook f6, rook e6, but I'll take bishop e6. And now what? Like maybe bishop g7. I can take, you can take, I can take, you can take here. But the net result is that you are a piece down, and this time without much compensation. Yeah. So f5, and I think it's almost resignation. It's also like something like, you can say, I don't know if you've played poker or something like that, where you have like a pool at the start, right? And you are playing very quietly, and you are folding whenever the options come to you. When you don't get good cards, you fold. And then at one moment you think, now I have good cards. And you say, this is my moment. I have to go all in. And that is the moment when you decide, is where you have to really be careful, because if you're going all in, it can end your game there if you take the wrong choice. And I think for Vidit, queen g4 was like going all in there, and he just missed f5. If it was not for f5, he was winning completely. There's no other move in this position for black, like even. So f5, and yeah, now It's just over. Ashwat says, do you think Pragg game affected him until now? I don't think so. I think after he drew with Magnus yesterday, he had forgotten about the Pragg game. You could see it on his face. You could see the happiness that he was, that he survived against the world champion. I think it is more to do with just something that he has to really think about, which is the time pressure. This till the 40th move. Um, and the time pressure is such a habit. It's like fitness in a way. Like, I'll tell you the reason why it happens is you work on it, and if you're very conscious about it, you can actually control time pressure. Like, you can make your moves quickly at certain moments, you can take some certain good decisions, you can be more alert, and you can generally get rid of time pressure if you're just alert. But it's just like like fitness or losing weight. If you are alert, you will lose it. But then comes a time when you get a little bit complacent and you say, okay, आज केक खा लेते हैं, या फिर आज birthday है, something like that in your weight, and then you start gaining, and it is something which you have to constantly work upon. And that happens with time pressure. Every tournament you have to tell yourself, I don't want to get under time pressure. And somehow I'm sure Vidit will fix this problem for FIDE Grand Prix, where he will play. But it has impacted here for sure, in this game. No, it was a great game actually. I mean, the game was really nice overall here. If he had gone bishop f4, he would have got a great position. But queen g4, well, what to do? It is lost. Coming back to the game of Shankland versus Karjakin, where we were just looking at, queen takes c4 was such a classy move by Shankland here, because after bishop takes f2, he played king h1. Notice you can't take on f2 because a1 is hanging. So he went king h1, and now after queen b3, he went queen c7. And now the bishop is hanging. So queen went back to b6, queen e5 check, king f7, knight came to d5, pawn takes, knight takes, queen takes, king e7, queen e5 check, king f7, and now came a classy move. White to play and win. What do you do? Um, yes, Rook C1, very good. Savita Chess, Singh Chef, Tanay Bhagwat, Sals the Music Band, Kian Guan, Tizia Kumar, and so many of you found it. Rook C1, and just the rook is coming in. Guys, we have our guest joining in at this point. Let's get him here. Uh, Coming all the way from Vaikanze is the one and only. Second, let me time it well. One and only Srinath. Hello, Srinath. How are you?
Hi, Sagar.
Uh,
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very
Belated
good.
happy birthday and good to see you back.
Yes, thank you so much. And Srinath, a huge news today for Indian chess, for you, for Arjun. Arjun has won the Tata Steel Challengers. How is the mood? And have you already met him? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling very happy and relieved It was, although the situation itself is not unfamiliar, uh, I I feel that this can be a very important point for Arjun. So, in that sense, I was quite nervous about today. But after he has managed to draw the game and won the tournament, I feel quite relieved myself and quite happy. Arjun is also quite happy, but he's still not totally done yet. He still has one more game to go.
Hmm.
And from the beginning, he was so highly motivated that he just didn't want to win the tournament, but he had higher goals than that. So, he was like, for me, it's still not over. I still want to finish it off. So
You,
I asked him today also if he wants to join me here, but he was like, no, not today, tomorrow.
yeah, absolutely. That's why I didn't even ask him, because I know that every game is important, and who knows, like if he wins tomorrow, he can get those crucial elo points, and they can matter a lot. But you said about higher goals about him, and what were those goals before the tournament?
He wanted to score a certain number of points, and if he wins tomorrow, he gets that. So that was a goal.
That is 11 or what?
10 and a half.
10 and a half. Wow,
Yeah.
that's massive.
Yes. That was his goal from the beginning of the tournament, from before we started out, and it was amazing. It was amazing to see that kind of optimism from him even before the tournament. It has it has had having the self belief. It has had, I think, a major role in how well he has played here.
Hmm. Uh, what would you say, like, was the key differentiating factor? Because when the tournament began, I mean, if you look at the ratings, there was Jumabayev, then there are all these young talents like Jonas Beer, there is experienced players like Erwin Lamy, Surya Ganguly. What do you think worked for Arjun well in this event, or would you just say that he was much stronger and his rating, like 2632, is right now underrated? He's underrated.
Yes, I think for sure he's been underrated for quite a while, despite the rating leap that he has had since the post-pandemic. And I did feel that he was the strongest in this event from the beginning. But also, I think a number of things went our way from the start. For example, having more number of whites, a few initial wins that just happened, which might have gone the other way if things were not as good. And apart from that, I think we also managed to achieve pretty nice positions from the preparation in a lot of the games. So the kind of preparation where I felt that Arjun was uh, stronger than his opponents. So I think it's a combination of all these things. Sometimes you do some things really well, and but you just end up being unfortunate and unlucky, and things don't go your way.
Hmm.
But when you work really hard and do the right things, and also when things go your way, that's when such spectacular performances happen. It's usually a combination of those things.
Amazing. Could you tell us a bit about your role? Like, people know that you were the trainer here, or they say the second. How does that actually work? And how was the day scheduled for both of you? Were you staying in the same room?
Yeah, we were staying in the same room, and I think yeah. So the role itself, I would check his opponents after his game ended, and I would brief him about what his opponent's strength and weaknesses were, and give him my recommendation of the kind of questions that he should aim for, and what opening choice he should make, and then the final decision would always be his, which is how it should be
Hmm.
with any player. And then it would be a combination of either him working on certain parts and me working on certain parts and sending him files, or very rarely working together on something and discussing it directly, or me showing something and explaining him. But for the major part, it was, briefing him about his opponent, giving him the recommendations, and then working on the directions that Arjun chose. And yeah, so this was the routine in general.
So would you say like when the game ended by evening, and he would come back, then after dinner you would brief him, and then he would say what he wants to do, and then you would work, and by the time he would wake up in the morning, you would already have things prepared for him?
Not especially. It happened only in the initial couple of days where I stayed awake an hour or two longer than him. But otherwise, I think we were just going to sleep and waking up at almost the same times. Maybe I would wake up a bit earlier, but not by much. It was not like, staying awake and preparing files and such. It was more of a combined thing. And also, I felt that the Challengers tournament, the level of preparation required was not as high as it would have been for the Masters. The opposition faced by Arjun, they did not play as many variations as the Masters would play. The depth of opening preparation was not at the same level. And also, a lot of these opponents were young, and some of them had very clear weaknesses, which was apparent. So, yeah, in that sense, and Arjun was already quite motivated, which really helped, and had worked really hard before coming here. He was very focused the few weeks before the tournament. He was highly motivated and stopped doing anything else and was completely working on chess. So he himself came well trained, well prepared, in a good shape, and had fantastic versatility. So, whichever direction he needed to go towards, or whichever type of position we needed to aim at, Arjun was ready, and he had the ability to play them well. I think these were major assets, which is unique to Arjun.
Amazing. A lot of people have been, and also myself included, a little bit confused about Arjun's style of play because he was so good at everything. Yeah, like be it attack, be it defense, be it positional chess, calculation. Uh, what would you say has, because earlier we had asked you once and you had said Arjun really likes to grab material and then hold on to it and then defend really well. Do you think that his playing style has evolved and he has new strengths now as a player?
I think one major change has been his psychological shape. Previously, he used to be a bit intimidated by certain strong players. Now he has, I think, overcome that. So he is able to play against anyone without being intimidated. And second thing is, he has worked a lot on his openings. So when I met Arjun for the first time in 2018, he was a really good player, but with absolutely no opening preparation at all. And this kind of started changing sometime around 2020, I think, during the lockdown. A lot of these changes, it happens within oneself, like no matter how many people tell you that you need to work on something or improve at something, at one point the change starts coming from within. I remember Vidit also went through something similar in his own career. There was a time when he played only one opening, and that would be 1d4 with white, and the classical Sicilian against 1e4, and something against 1d4. It used to be openings like tango and stuff. It was completely different from what he turned out to be, and he was able to make those changes and overcome those fears, and that that basically made the difference in his career. Why he was, he surpassed every other Indian pair out there, and became number two. Similarly, with Arjun, he had these two issues. and he has managed to improve a lot on both these aspects. He has made major progress, and I think that is one of the reasons why he was able to get from about 25-30 to 26-50. And moving forward also, it's some of the things are similar. The skill set is similar, but has to be done at a much higher level. So I said the challenge in the masters, for example, and the challenges, it's completely different. The depth of opening preparation and their range of openings, but it is completely different. It takes a higher level, but it's also not too different.
I
It just
Arjun
things at a higher
can,
level.
with the wind blowing in his sails right now, and the confidence, I think he would be super motivated, especially after that interview of Magnus. I think that would have been very special, right? What was your and Arjun's feeling about it?
Absolutely. Arjun was he has enormous respect for Magnus. So uh, hearing those words from Magnus, it meant a lot to him, and it gave him confidence. I, on the other hand, I was like, Arjun, I've been telling this to you for the last 4 years. Now Magnus tells you, and you believe it. And I told you,
It's like your parents tell you something, you don't listen, and then someone else whom you respect very much tells you, and you're like, yeah, no,
exactly,
something like
exactly.
that. But
So
Magnus just said that he's not very surprised this has happened, and I think that was very cool, because if I remember, he played with Magnus at World Blitz, and at that time Arjun
mhm.
was quite intimidated, facing Magnus for the first time over the board, and he was a little bit defensive, but he held to the draw at the end. So I was looking at that game, and I thought maybe Magnus feels okay, Arjun is a talented youngster, but he didn't press him or anything. But here Magnus was like, he's super talented, he'll cross 2700. So I think he was looking through his games in general, not just basing on that one game he faced him.
Absolutely. I would imagine Magnus keeps a tab of everything, and he also plays quite a lot online himself.
Hmm.
So he also had this marathon bullet games against Arjun, and these things are very indicative of a player's strength and their style. I would say, although you have very less time, uh, my belief is that you cannot really be a strong bullet or blitz player without being a good chess player yourself, especially the blitz part, the 3+2 with increment. You have to be a really good chess player to get to 2750 or even 2700. These things uh, don't just happen. I mean, you're not just a blitz specialist if you're that good. It also means you have certain chess skills, certain chess understanding, and also the way Arjun got those successes in those quick games. You can already feel the strength,
Yeah,
the moves that
yeah,
he finds in instantly. It's
absolutely.
not just tactical tricks, or he gets bad positions and tricks his way out and wins games in the blitz or bullet games. You can just feel these things, just by the moves he suggests instantly, or the moves that come in his speed play games. So people can see the strength and the potential of his gameplay pretty quickly if they are trained to see such things.
Yeah, well, Srinath, you have added so many feathers to your caps now, to your cap now, hat or cap, whatever. You've been coach of the Indian team that won the Olympiad gold, online Olympiad. Then you have been working with Nihal as he rises up the ranks. Now Arjun, you've been working with him. Uh, it's tremendous. I'm sure you played a role in Divya recently, achieving her norms and becoming the latest WGM of our country. Raunak, you working with him as well. Just amazing.
Uh, yes, thank you so much, Saga. I haven't been working with Raunak for a while now, and it's been a while since I had sessions with Divya either. She hasn't been all that active in the chess circuit. post-pandemic. But for sure, thank you so much. And it's a special feeling for me as well, because with some of these kids, especially Arjun and Divya, who I met in Turkey for the first time in 2018, and also Nihal, who I was traveling with for quite a bit back in the pre-pandemic times. There is a bit of a personal connection as well. It was, for at least for me, it was not just something purely professional. So with them rising in any way or going towards their goals or whatever they want to achieve, there's quite a bit of personal satisfaction as well for me in that that they're able to get there.
Yeah, I mean, for everyone here, it's so interesting that current India number 4 and 5 are both youngsters, Nihal and Arjun, and they both are doing so well. You've worked with them very closely. Would you say that they have similar styles, or would you say completely different?
They have a few similar styles. I mean, they have few similarities in styles, in the sense that I think both of them had a strategic base to begin with, and they're very good at intuitively understanding the strategic concepts. But on the other hand, there are also many, many, many differences, subtle differences in the way they operate. Nihal, for instance, he's very safe and stable and quite objective when it comes to classical chess. There is a difference between how he plays the faster formats and how he approaches classical chess. Arjun, I think, he's a bit more practical and can be a bit more aggressive and ambitious at times, but he's also balanced enough to not lose his objectivity or stray away too much from it in his quest to win games or score points. There are, I think, different extremes with advantages and disadvantages in both. And yeah, Nihal is one. There is Arjun. There is Abdusaturu, and all three of them, I think, they have a very good strategic base and are very strong players. But well, some of the key differences I noted was someone like Abdusaturu. I noted that he tries to win from many, many, many situations, even if objectively is not the position doesn't demand it. Nihal usually is quite objective, so he knows he's tactical, he's pragmatic, and he wouldn't blow his bridges in terms of trying to win. So he scores less wins, but he also doesn't lose. And I think Arjun is somewhere in the middle between these two. He's not as much in the extreme as Abdusaturu, but also not on the other extreme as Nihal.
These are tremendous insights, from the future of chess. And these three, as you said, are very talented. We also have like Gukesh, we have Pragg. I mean, so many young talents. It's amazing. Meanwhile, just to get your thoughts on what else is happening, we just saw right now Vidit losing his game to Mamedyarov, and that was a big. I wouldn't say an upset or anything, but Vidit had a great position, and then he blundered. And I mean, did you follow that game?
Yes, I saw this moment at Queen G4, and I was pretty surprised that this happened. Until that point, it looked like Vidit was doing quite well. And in general, with Vidit also, I noticed that he was incredibly motivated before coming here. He had this tournaments like the Grand Prix, and if things went well, he could power his way up to 2750. And the start was extremely good. It felt like, he was in great shape. He had some great games. But it's a very tough event, and there are so many things going on. As it is, Vacancy is tough and brutal. It's a long event. You have strong players in every game, and we are so it's also a very long event. During the rest days, the players prepare all the time. There is so much information to take. It all consumes a lot of energy. So after 10 rounds, everyone has lost a bit of energy. And on top of that, we are also in a bubble right now. And the tournament has been such that we have tried to be in isolation for the most part. So even when going to the breakfast, the players would take. I mean, we would take food on the tray and then bring it back to our rooms. It's room service in a self-service way, but it's a bubble, and it is exhausting and taxing, I should say, even for me. Even though I'm not playing, which is the hardest part to do, and
You feel lonely, yeah, sometimes?
yes, there is a bit of loneliness, and also there's a weird feeling. Yeah, there's a weird feeling of being under pressure because you're modifying your behavior to such an extent, and there's also the stress of doing all these things differently, and it can be very damaging to you if you happen to test positive, because not only does it affect your tournament in Mackenzie, it affects the tournament itself, and affects your further tournaments as well, the Grand Prix coming up and those things. So it's a lot of pressure and stress for the players out here. Uh, that's the setting in which we are playing right now in the post-pandemic world. It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, but it is, I think, for these players, just the fact that they can get on the board and play a tournament is such a important thing that they are ready to sacrifice many of the things for it, and just get a chance to play.
Absolutely, they really want it. They are willing to go to great lengths at playing well and improving their performance. They give their absolute best, uh, but yeah, it's also not easy for the players. So I would cut them a lot of slack.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And Srinath, it was amazing talking to you, getting your thoughts on just the entire process of how Arjun managed to perform so well. We are very excited for what future holds for him. As he mentioned, he's going to cut down a bit of his tournaments this year because he played a lot last year. That's what he said in one of the interviews. But
True. Also, with his rating increasing, amount of tournaments, the number of tournaments he can play will also be more limited. Where he can face stronger players.
Yeah, yeah. But as always, it was amazing having you, getting the insights. And I think, guys, we should have Srinath OP in the chat because clearly this guy from not being in the front line, like not playing, he is doing so much to make sure that Indian chess keeps on progressing. And I think Srinath, with all these insights you have working with so many different players, you are one of the biggest assets for Indian chess. So thanks so much for the great contribution as always.
Thank you so much, Sagar, and it's of course likewise for you also in terms of the contribution that you have made for Indian chess.
Well, that's
As I mentioned in my tweet.
but today this is just everything for you and Arjun. I think we are very excited, Srinath. Thank you once
Ultimately,
again.
whatever the players achieve, ultimately whatever goes, it's you who bring it to the people out here, and that's an enormous contribution. And all these kids you have mentioned, uh, I'm sure a whole lot of them, people came to know them first through the ChessBase India news page at first, and now the ChessBase India YouTube channel. So yeah, thank you so much for that,
Thank you.
and thanks for everything.
Thanks, Srinath,
Yeah,
and all the best for last round tomorrow.
thank you
Bye.
so much. Bye.
Guys, that was Srinath Narayanan from all the way from Vaikanze, Arjun Erigaisi has just won the challengers section by drawing the final round, the penultimate round against Nguyen Taiwan, and he has won the tournament with one round to spare. We got the thoughts of Srinath as to how they were preparing, how they were working, what was their daily schedule like, what was the situation that was happening there. And I think it's amazing how they both work together. Of course, Arjun did the lion's share of playing and all, but Srinath always there to support and gives his insights. And these are very important, when he tells what are the strengths of a player, what are the weaknesses. These things can really help. Not to forget the emotional support that you get in such a place when you are alone in a new place, and over there you have someone to support you. So that was very, very nice to get Srinath here and to understand. Also today, we were looking at Vidit's game quite closely, and somewhere I think this move, the sad part about Vidit's game is that he had a move here, bishop f4, which would have given him a very good position. Very good. Like black has to take, and then he takes. Ramit Indias, thank you so much for your super chat. And then he attacks the rook. The rook has to come up to e5, and then queen g4, and you can just literally feel it that knight f6 check is in the air. So many things are happening here, and Vidit has such a nice position. But in such a favorable situation, he just blanked out and he played queen g4, and he forgot that Mamedyarov was threatening a mate here, mate in one. But Mamedyarov played f5 and defended this. And all of a sudden, Vidit thought for he had 11 minutes. He thought for 11 minutes, 35 seconds. He came down to 4 seconds or something, 7 seconds. And then he just gave this sacrifice. He just played out of inertia at this point. Mamedyarov is not one who would miss out on such chances. It was converted with... I guess here if knight d3 check, then maybe Vidit was king e2. That was the point. But Mamedyarov took knight takes c4, knight rook h4, and what a beautiful finish right here. Knight e3 check, just to test your tactical ability. What happens after king e2, guys? Black to play. So heartbreaking to see Vidit crying. Oof. Yeah, that must have hurt. For Vidit, I think this tournament has been really topsy-turvy. Beating Dubov, beating Grandelius, then losing to Praggnanandhaa, drawing with Magnus, now losing this game. It's gone really back and forth. And well, tomorrow he has his final game. Who's he playing again? Yeah, rook e1 is the correct move. Well done, guys. Abhiraj Ratna, why not? Ananya Khare, Manas Verma, Snehashish, Prathamesh, Ashutosh. Very good. Rook takes e1 is the correct move. And after king e1, you have knight takes g2 with a massive fork, and you lose 2 pieces. You're 2 pieces down. And the other point was after fe3. Why is this position winning? Could you tell me? Black to play. Karjakin, yeah. Tomorrow he plays Karjakin, and that's going to be an interesting game because Karjakin is known for quick draws, but he will have white pieces. So perhaps it will be a fighting game. Beautiful, guys. Many of you have given the right answer. Ram Gopal Ramineni, Dipanshu Sharma, Bhavik Ahuja, Sri Hari D, Ashutosh, Manas Verma, Shivam Pramanik, Savish Trehan, Utpal Nandi, Well, Varsha More, you can play rook e1, king e1, and bishop g3. I think this is also completely winning. But on the other hand, why to go into the end game when you can finish off the mate right itself here? So this is a much faster way to win. Bishop g3. Um, this happens, and the game which there are few results. Esipenko drew with Richard Rapport. Anish Giri has drawn with Nils Grandelius. A bit surprising because we were looking at this position here and we were thinking that Anish has good chances to push, and maybe he had good chances. Queen c6, maybe instead of that rook da1 is a better move with the idea of rook a8, but he played queen c6, knight e4, knight d3, and he offered a draw. And in the last position, actually rook c4 followed by bishop d4 meant that black is the one who's pressing. So maybe a well-timed draw offer by Anish saved him half a point here. We have Duda versus Van Foreest, which is ongoing. The position is roughly around even, but very, very complex. Let's go to Caruana versus Magnus Carlsen, because this is the game which is in its time pressure zone. 29 moves have been completed, and we have a lot of things that are happening right now. Magnus actually sacrificed an exchange. When did that happen? Just to show you guys, after knight b3, a b3, we saw this, queen b6 aaya, a5, okay. It's all well known. c5, we looked till here, bishop c6, rook b1 was played, a4, rook c1, rook d8, knight d2, queen e2, f3, and now a beautiful move by Magnus. Can you find it? Black to play. Pure Magnus beauty here. Black to move. What did Magnus do here? Surindira, Jaideep Shetty, Giridhar, Savita Chess, Aki's channel, Satyam Singh, Manas Verma. Brilliant, guys. He just sacked his rook on d4, which is so good. Because one more move that was suggested was bishop e5. But here you are right. I mean, if I have to take de5, then after rook d3, black is just winning. However, the only problem here is that after bishop e5, I have this intermediate move rook e1, and then I take when white is winning. So that's the reason why rook d4 is beautiful. And after bishop takes d4, which you have to take, he takes on d2, attacking the bishop. Rook d1 is played, queen f4, queen b4. Now, you don't want to take this, because when you take a pawn like this, then it exchanges of few pieces, and perhaps Magnus wants to keep the position for now as it is. He plays his pawn to e6, and he tells Fabiano that, look, your e5 pawn is weak, I will capture it at the right moment. Arjun drew, by the way, guys, today. So, few results. If you've just joined in, Vidit lost to Mamedyarov after he blundered. Arjun drew and has won the Tata Steel Challengers and will now qualify to the Masters next year. And Praggnanandhaa got a walkover against uh, Daniel Dubov. So he moves to 4.5. We also should have a quick look at Surya Ganguly versus Erwin Lamy that is going on. And yeah, Surya is in trouble with the black pieces here. Yeah. Surya, because knight takes e4 is hanging. You know, guys, I was very surprised at what happened in the opening, correct? Just want to show you that, like, Surya played b4, he's white. Erwin Lamy is, by the way, great player from Netherlands. And this happened, ठीक है? तो ये position है, and everything looks great. Now, if you see here, there is a problem. The rook is undefended. So the threat is to take this pawn. I take back and you will take the rook. That is your plan. But Surya could have played like bishop b2, defending the rook. He could have pushed his pawn to b5. But he played the move c4. And you know what Erwin did? He just took this here. And now Surya had a plan in mind. What was the move that he had in mind? No, Anshuman Singh, Erwin Lamy is not the FIDE head. I think it is, you are mistaking Emil Sutowski for that. Yes, Surindira, that is what he wanted to do. No, queen b3, just knight goes back. No. So that is not a great move. The move is bishop takes h6. This is what Surya had planned, I believe, or maybe he played it over the board. And now Erwin Lamy surprised Surya again with a nice move. So what would you play here with black? Black to move. Yeah, I mean, if you were to play g takes h6, then after a takes b4, white is better. Pawns are equal, king is a bit weak. But knight d3, Vivan Malpani, Mohit Chess Channel, Shivam Namdev, Savita Chess, Pratik Bhatt, Surindira, Prabodh Prakash, Shaibi Binoj, very good. Take on d3. And now the thing is that Surya could have now taken on g7, saying that if you take here, I will take here. And most likely knight f4 would have been played with a complicated game, but I guess black is better because although black king looks exposed, he has pieces around his king, and after bishop takes f6, queen f6, black's position looks very nice. But Surya played here knight to g5 and he threw caution to the winds. He was like, I'm attacking your rook. What do you do here now? And Erwin Lamy played a brilliant move here. And this is, I think, what I really liked about this game. Black to play. See, you can take here, but then he would take on e6, attack the queen and take on d3. So what do you play as black? Surindra says, why not rook a3 instead of knight takes d3? Rook a3, maybe rook a3. G h6. I mean, your exchange down and possible, but that would have given. Yes, Aryan Kedia. Very good. Tanushri Gururaj. Kadamma Kudi Vlogs. Savita Chess. Shivam Madhur. Pawn Balaji. Pratik Bhatt, Akshay Bhujbal, Kunal Gupta, knight c5. And what a move this is. He's like, you take on e6, I will take back with my knight. Now your bishop is hanging. You can't go bishop g5 because I've controlled it. So you go back But now knight takes e4. I win a pawn. Now, if you count the number of pawns, black is a pawn up. Queen takes b, has 2 pawns for the exchange. And here, queen trade as well. So generally it is said that when you are behind in material, you should not exchange pieces. But here black doesn't believe he's behind in material. He thinks that his position is much better strategically. It is superior. Rook a3, f5, f3, knight c5. And perhaps for Surya it could have been better to just take here and play rook a5, rook a1. But he first played rook a1 and then knight b7 came, blocking this. And now black knights are just way too superior. f4, bishop f2, g5, king g2, knight a5. The rooks don't have open files. So Surya tried to open it from the other side. e4 came, knight c6. Well, he was fighting actually. It was not like game is over or anything, but yeah, I think slowly Erwin managed to convert this, and I think now he will win this game. So Erwin Lamy might beat Surya Ganguly. Let's go back to the game of Magnus Carlsen. Caruana had played bishop c3. Magnus took on b4, bishop b4. Now chopped the pawn on e5, bishop a3. He goes back bishop f6 here. And now king f2. And you can notice, guys, Magnus Carlsen is completely in control. He has 6 pawns. His bishop is an absolute monster, defended by the pawn, defending the a passer. The bishop is well placed here. He has 2 extra pawns. So white has a rook, black has a bishop and 2 pawns, which is already materially even, but positionally black is just so much better. We have a message from Akshit Johri, who's been a member for 14 months, booster of Indian chess. He says, "Hi Sagar, hope you and Amruta are doing well. What would you say has been an improvement for VD in this tournament and something he should improve on?" I feel that for Vidit, one thing which I really felt was the fact that he believed in himself a lot. He played really well against Dubov, Grandelius. He really fought excellently and took risks, prepared interesting stuff. I think Alon Greenfield and he worked together as a very good team overall, because they just have excellent understanding. And Alon Greenfield is also very positive personality. The thing which can be improved upon is kind of a little obvious, which is not to come under time pressure. But the main thing is, let's imagine that you go to a doctor and the doctor tells you that you have diabetes or you have blood pressure. That is the diagnosis of what your problem is. Why do you have blood pressure or why do you have diabetes? Could be because you eat a lot of sweets, you have some other problems, you have some. So that is where the real thing needs to be fixed. So getting into time pressure is obvious, we all can see. But why is he getting under time pressure? Is he double checking his variations? Is he trying to be very ambitious in certain moments? What is the problem? If that thing can be identified, I guess in Grand Prix he has excellent chances. In fact, his group, I think he has nice chances, because first of all there is Dubov, who right now is, I think he will recover by FIDE Grand Prix, but has gone through this lot of mental upheaval. There is Levon Aronian in his group, who is excellent, and there's Vincent Kmar. So Vidit has good chances to finish on top of his group if he is able to beat Levon. So yeah, of course, I mean, the main aim of every chess player, and you will see that, is that they learn from what they do wrong and they improve. In fact, everyone maintains a game database where they save their games and they look at it as to what better they could have done. So it's a very standard process for all top players, that they go through their games, they think about what they can do better. But also it's very important to do that at a moment where you are not very emotionally charged, because sometimes you can come up with wrong solutions which you don't want. By the way, Fabiano Caruana has only 36 seconds left. He has 6 more moves to make. One of the questions is, how is Magnus Carlsen going to break through in this position? You have to ask yourself, because c5 pawn is right now securely defended, a pawn is securely blockaded. So I think what Magnus will do, I want to ask you guys, how should Magnus start pressing in this position? Chandru says pawn march. Indus Insight says pawn push. But how? How? Rohan Pokhriyal says push your pawn to h5. Very standard way of improving your position bit by bit. Excellent. Devansh Sharma says f5. Very interesting. You can also start with f5. Bring your king over to f7. Bishop d5 says roll number 80. But yes, it's also possible you want to put pressure on c5, but I think the main issue is that if you play bishop c5 after bishop d5 after rook d4, your a4 pawn is under pressure and you might have to drop your bishop back. King g7, Patrick bro, I like your suggestion. Just improving the king's position seems very logical. So all of you have very good ideas. In fact, g5 was also mentioned by someone or not. I like the move g5 as well. So how it will work out, I believe, is you go g5, king g7, h5, f5, and just slowly and steadily try to push these 4 pawns. And the main thing that white will lack is the ability to penetrate in the position with his rooks. Once you can't get in with your rooks on any of the files, then the bishops are kind of superior than the rooks. And if you are able to open up a file on the king side and swing your rook over there, then the 2 bishops and the rook will be much more powerful. So try to see how Magnus is able to convert such positions. Rishi Maheshwari, if bishop d5, rook d4, bishop b3, the problem is b7 pawn will hang. f6 played by Magnus. I guess what Magnus wants to do is play e5, king f7, king e6. That's why he started with f6. I mean, I guess the reason why he didn't play f5, I'm not sure. I mean, he could have done f5, but maybe he didn't like f4. f6, f4, anyway played by Fabi. Shubham, if you take here, I take here, and you play this, I have check, you take, rook takes, rook c5, rook b7, and now rook a5. And then I have 2 extra pawns, rook behind the pawn, and then f4 has been played. Suraj says, Sagarbai, it seems Fabi hasn't been at the top of his game in recent tournaments. Yeah, I guess so. How much do you think this has got to do with the end of his long-time partnership with Kazim Janov? I think so. It does play an important role, especially. I mean, there are so many dynamics which go into how a top player plays well, and somehow I think the personal life plays a big role in many things. I remember this one episode which there was this World Cup that was happening, and I think Boris Gelfand was playing there, and I think there was unrest in his country, or maybe it was Ivanchuk. I'm not sure actually. It was one of them, and there was unrest in their country. And then somehow the news came out. Oh, by the way, E5 by Magnus. Actually, Magnus is taking some interesting decisions. He wants to take, and then push his pawn to E4, get a passer, and also get an open file for his pieces. It's quite a good decision. And once they realized that, okay, I think it was Aronian, maybe it was Armenia, and once the unrest was came to an end, somehow the players felt like that player felt so motivated to play because he knew that his family is safe now, and he could take more risks on the chessboard. He could sacrifice his pieces. He just felt at ease, when you, because it's such a mental game that if something is not going so well in your life, and if you're not able to manage those thoughts during the game, they can be very detrimental. So it all depends on how Fabi has managed to, he did end his relationship with Kazim Janov, his working relationship, but how did that pan out is very important. And you're very right. It could be possible one of the reasons why he's not doing well, but it could also be something else. There are many reasons. And also, I mean, sometimes you just try very hard and the results don't come your way. That doesn't particularly mean that you are doing something wrong. It just means that you need to be a little more patient, and that is again a very difficult thing to say, when you need to be patient, when you need to take some big decisions like changing your trainer, changing some opening ideas, working on something else, and so on. So now rook e2 has been played, rook f8 check by Magnus, and you can see the main reason why Magnus is better is because his bishop here is great and the other bishop will pop out from the other side, while this bishop on a3 is not playing in the game. We had a couple of super chats that I missed. I will read it out. Aniket Dhuri says, Sagar bhai, please tell VD we are still proud of it. And I mean, in general, I can tell you guys that this is a very this is a journey that every top player has to take. Some progress faster, some don't, and I'm sure Vidit will be able to come out of this. We'll see how he deals with it. It's a process. It's part of the journey. Akira Chinua says, if you would have to choose between Vidit and Arjun, who would you pick? And for all the photographers out there, how hard is it to get access to any tournaments? You mean Akira Chinua? I mean, who would I pick in what sense? Because even right now when we spoke with Srinath, he mentioned that playing in the Masters and Challengers is two different events. Arjun played very well at Challengers, but Masters has all the top players playing there, world class players, and it's a much more brutal event. So for now, of course, Arjun is the man of this event. He's played amazingly well in Challengers, but it's not that they played in the same event as well. So I mean, I would pick both of them as having done pretty well. Of course, Arjun played amazingly well. um Naveen Ravipati says, Sagar bhai, love you. Thank you, Naveen. um Ishan Rai, thank you for becoming backer of Indian chess. Chaitanya Modak says, I think Vidit is defensively very solid as we saw against Dubov, but he's slightly vulnerable when it comes to dynamic attacking play under time pressure. That's the only difference between him and top 10 players. It could be, and I think it is a very interesting point to think about, that what is it that he's not good at, and maybe it's a possibility that he, when it comes to time pressure, um, or when it comes to taking the initiative, he is much worse than when it comes to grinding a positional edge. It's just how many players are made up of. And when you work on your chess, you often, as Anish always tells me, it's a trade-off between whether you want to work on your strengths or you want to work on your weaknesses, and that time which you spend there, you're then not giving to your strengths. So it's always a trade-off, between what you want to do. Because if you had unlimited time as a top player, you would work on your weaknesses, you would also strengthen your strengths, and you would just keep improving. But they have to make these choices. And also, we sometimes forget that they also have a normal life, like a personal life. They have to make sure that they spend time with their family, with their other things in life, and sometimes they don't have enough time to fix all the holes in their play and stuff like that. So there are these things. And for now, if Vidit works on his weakness of playing aggressive chess, maybe then something else might break. It's difficult to say what you should work on. By the way, this is the 40th move that is already played. Can I go e4 and then chop this pawn? Let's say e4. Let's say rook c2, trying to hold on to the c5 pawn. Maybe get the king in. King comes to e6. White is basically kind of hopeless here. Yeah, there's no hopes. pd8 with the idea of bishop c7 and e4. It's also pretty good, Patrick bro. By the way, Magnus did play e4. 40 moves done. Now 50 more minutes. Pomegranate. Yeah, I think Magnus has won the tournament with this victory. Also because Richard Rapport, who was half a point behind him, drew. So now Magnus has a 1 point lead and he will get a full point tomorrow for his game against Dubov. So I think we have winners in both the sections with one round to spare. Magnus winning the Masters and Arjun winning the Challengers. And that will be a very nice picture where we will have both Magnus and Arjun in one frame tomorrow. I hope they take that picture, because I remember there was this one picture of Vidit and Magnus that year when Vidit had won the Challengers and Magnus had won the Masters. It was a very nice picture. Uh, I think Adiban had also won once the Challengers, and there was a picture of Adiban and Magnus. I think it was Adiban and Magnus, not Vidit. That was a very nice one. Yeah, I mean, Magnus, if you notice, like, uh he might win this tournament by 1.5 points, and I think by the end of this event he would have gained 2 elo points, which is nice actually, considering that he's 2865. He might end with 2867 or 2868. Yes, reaching 2900, you all got a glimpse of how difficult that is going to be. It's not going to be easy. But yeah, Prakhyat Prakash says Adhiban and Magnus in 2016, right? No, Ashwath Raja, he'll gain couple of points, yeah, at least 2-3 points, because he's right now on -1 elo, and with this win he should get at least 3 or 4 elo points. Couldn't Surindra says, couldn't White take on c6 after rook f5 and return the exchange back? Interesting question. Like, you mean he defended this pawn, right? So even if you take here and take here, you will still be 2 pawns down. So it's not enough. But let's imagine that I play a move like, just for the sake of argument, g3, and now you play e4. Then this sacrifice makes some sense, because now take, and I will chop this. Oops, not rook e3, rook e4, and I think white gets good drawing chances. Bishop takes c5, bishop takes c5, rook takes c5, and rook takes a4. And then it's just 1 pawn advantage. And that is where I see that Magnus, very carefully, he made sure that he's not going to push the pawn. He played first rook f5, and when he went back, now he pushed. And if you see, if he plays rook b6 once more, then Magnus will be in time to take here, and then after rook c6 he will take rook c6, rook e4, and rook a6, and he will win the game. So that's not going to work out so well. Or maybe here b5 also seems good. Rohit B, no. Winners of challenges and masters will not get rating points. You don't get points for winning any tournament. You get only for beating opponents. Bhanu Pratap says, I play the French defense very well as black, but I have realized that since I have an aggressive playing style, so can you please recommend some other openings for black against 1e4? Very natural suggestion from my end would be Sicilian, because that really is an aggressive opening. And in Sicilian, you can go for the Najdorf. It's a very good one. If you want to learn Najdorf, I think a very good way to get basics sorted is Victor Bologan's Najdorf for ChessBase. It's kind of for getting the basic thing. There's also Daniel King's Power Play on Najdorf, which is also for people who want to get real grips on the opening. And if you want advanced knowledge, then of course Anish Giri's course on Najdorf is very, very good, but it would be for very strong players and for an advanced knowledge. So these are the resources which you can look at. Rook c1 was played. You can also look at Anish's video on ChessBase India where he discusses this opening. Rook c1 defends c5 pawn. Samarth Call says, if an engine has infinite depth, hypothetically, it would show winning in some number of moves, right? I mean, of course, if one side has some advantage like +2 normal, yes, that's true, Samarth. If the engine goes to an infinite depth, then at some point +2 should be converted into either a complete win, or at some point there is a fortress that comes up which the engine right now thinks is winning, but later on is not able to. And I think that computing power is not available, that calculating so many options with many pieces, but at some point I think that will happen. And then chess might get solved. I think there is a website where you can put any number of pieces and then give it like sufficient amount of time. It'll go through all the options and everything. Maybe it takes like couple of days. Also, you need a lot of space for that. But I think there is some website like that that exists. I had analyzed it once. In fact, good authors do use that website to analyze. Prabodh says, Sagar, I'm 2700 in chess.com tactics, but keep missing tactics sometimes in games and also miss opposition tactics. How can that be improved? I think one of the biggest things which you have to do, and I think it helped me tremendously, was when I started solving positions with the same intensity as I was playing. And I think it is very important to do that. Like, you have to recreate that situation, and somewhere it helped me that I had played over the board tournaments, so I know exactly how it feels. Maybe you haven't played over the board yet, but just imagine that if you have played online, and when there is pressure, when there's time ticking down, there are more factors in solving than just getting the right move. Also, remember that when a position is given to you, you know that there exists something, right? And when you have to play in the game, you don't know whether that moment is the tactical moment or not. So again, it is sometimes when people say you have to solve a lot of tactics, it does help your tactical awareness, but intuitively, are you able to understand which is the key moment when the tactic is going to come? By the way, excellent move by Magnus. Bishop h4 check. If you think about it, he's just forcing g3, and then he will drop back and come here or here, because that will weaken the f3 square, which will attack the bishop. It's a little move, but it's a very nice move. Like, if you want to go bishop d8 with the idea of checking here, maybe first give this check, provoke g3, then go back. So another very good way to improve your tactical vision is to take the game of a great champion. Let's try that today. I want to try it. I wanted to try it at some point. Maybe this Magnus is winning, so let's try something very interesting. Okay, maybe it's useful, and maybe you guys will enjoy it. So what I do is, I have mega database, correct? So I'll choose a great player. Let's choose a great attacking player. Uh, any suggestions for choosing a great attacking player? Marshall, Vishy Anand, Mamedyarov, any more? Tal, yeah, a lot of Gary, Tal, Judith, AD, Fisher, Nezmetdinov, Arjun. So many nice names. Okay, let's choose one player. Let's choose Tal, because so many of you, or maybe let's choose, yeah, let's choose Tal. World champion. I would have chosen Alekhine also. I like Alekhine a lot uh, for his aggressive attacking style. Uh, I'm going to choose one game which may not be very long as such, something around 20 moves for now. Let's choose Tal versus Saigen. Okay. And or Donchev. Okay, so what I do is I've added the game with Tal and Donchev, and let me open up this board here, and there is something known as replay training here at the top. So what I would do is I will take Tal as myself as white. Okay, so I'm white and I will consider myself as Tal. So first move, what do you think will Tal play in this position? Can you tell me? What do you think will Tal play? So I'm just telling you what the way in which I practiced at some point. It really helped me. And we will use also the chat chess moves just in case to switch. Not the chat chess moves. Let me add it here. Yeah, this is the one. Done. And let me get the board as well. So e4 is the majority of you who have suggested. So what I would do generally is I would also keep a book and a pen by my side, and I would say that e4, because at that point this replay training didn't exist on ChessBase 16, but now with replay training it tells you. So e4 is what you guys want to play. So let's go here and make the move e4. So when I play the move e4, it will say e4 is theory, but the game continued with knight f3, knight f6. Now first move is not so important, but still, what will you play now with white? Again, think. What would you do here? So if you see here, you get points as well in this position. 2 out of 2 is your score because the move you played was also good. Although it was not played in the game, it was good. So you get full points. Let's see what you guys are suggesting. D4 is what all of you want to play. G3 is the next best move. Let's go with our top choice here, D4. It says your move is okay, but the game continued with C4. Okay. But you get full points. Let's go to the next suggestion now. What do you play in this position now? After G6. Yeah. Let's look at here. Knight c3 is the main move that is being suggested by all of you. Okay, so let's do it. Knight c3. This was played in the game. D5 here was played. And now what do you play here? After D5. Yes. So here the right move is okay. Majority of you want to take on D5. So I would take back, like take here. But in the game, Queen A4 was played. CD5 is one of the main moves here. So your score is right now 4 out of 4 because you haven't made any mistakes. What would you play here after Bishop D7? Mark Regev, I have ChessBase 16 here. This is not engine. This is playing against the games that were played in the moves that were played in the in the game. So majority of you here want to play the move Queen B3, which is very right. I think I would have also gone for that move. So what you're doing is you're basically trying to play like the world champion. Now again, a decision has come here. Should you take this pawn on c4 or should you take this pawn on b7? What is your suggestion here? White to play. And now you notice that actually when you're doing this kind of training, you don't know whether this is the tactical moment or will it be on the next move. So you have to be constantly alert. What is a better decision here? Vaibhav Gautam says you want to go queen c2 back. Let's see what is the move. Majority of you want to take on c4. So what I would do is I would write down this move, queen c4 here. And that was played in the game. But I would make a mental note what happens to queen takes b7. So I really want to know. Bishop c6 maybe, but I'll still look at it later. Now what is the next move that you should play? Someone asked me, what if you don't have ChessBase? One suggestion is that you can get a ChessBase. If you don't have the resources to get it, then what I could recommend is that try to find any good game online, just of any good player, and then play it on the chessboard without looking at the moves and write down on a pen and paper. It's also a good way to train. So right now, let's see what are the moves. E4 is what you are suggesting. There's also D4. So E4, D4, both moves. And let's try D4. This is theory, but the game continued G3. Okay, I'm going to play the next move without asking you. Bishop G2, or do you want something like H4 in the game? Guys, what will you play here? White to move. Yeah, everyone says Bishop G2. Okay. I think that is the main choice here. Bishop G2. Okay, let's go ahead with that. And Queen C8 was played. So clearly his idea is that if I castle, he wants to go Bishop H3. But then Bishop H3, Bishop H3, Queen H3. Can I not just grab the C7 pawn? So what would you play here with white? White to play. Shahbaz Jahan says H4. Abhishek also says H4. Yeah, now H4 makes a lot of sense, right? Although I like the move castling as well. There's also Queen H4, stopping Bishop H3. Like Queen H4. Just try to think. It's one of my favorite training methods. Yeah, let's see. What is the suggestion majorly given by you guys? Ooh, H4. Just edging out castling there. Okay, let's go. It looks like Tal move. You played H4, your move is okay. But the game continued castles and C6. You see, he had to play that because if he had gone Bishop H3, then take and C7 was hanging. So he plays C6. And now once again, what do you play here? So you have, you're learning through this. You see that even an aggressive player like Tal castled here, he didn't go for H4. Now what do you do? Mark Regev says queen h4. Naveen JJ says queen h4. Ranjit Sundaram, I like queen h4. The thing is, I want to play d4 and open up my bishop, or d3. But I want my, if I go d4, I want my queen on the other side. I could go d3 as well in this position. Enjoy Crafts wants to go d3. Anand Krishna K, what is h3? I'll just take h3, no? Bishop h3. Abhishek says knight g5. But Abhishek, I'll just push you back with h6. Shobhan Laha just c takes b5, yeah? Okay, let's see what are the moves. d4 you want to play. Queen h4 I like, but let's see what happens. t4. Your move is okay, but queen h4 was played, and now h6. Okay. Now white to move. What do you do here? Again, think. I like queen h4 before d4, because now your queen is well placed. Dynamic Chess says d4. I like it. Sherali Patnaik, also I like d4. Rohit Taranekar says, in 1 year I reached 1200 after starting from scratch. For the past 6 months, I'm stuck between 1150 to 1200. What should I do to get better? Maybe this is the solution, Ronit. What we are doing right now. This is pretty interesting stuff. Anand Krishna says, I remember where he gave up the h pawn and used the rook. Okay, got it. But here, maybe not the best idea. Okay, what are your suggestions here? d4, clearly the main move. Okay, I also think d4 is the move here. Oh, he played d3 and g5. Wow. Sack to marna hai na g5 pe. Now see, here is the moment where you don't know whether, if this was in your tactics puzzles, then you would know ki yahan pe something is winning. But because you're playing through a game and now it's a normal position, you don't know whether you want to sacrifice or you don't want to sacrifice. What do you want to do? Do you want to take with bishop, or do you want to take with knight? That's an important question. I think bishop g5, g5, knight g5. I have a threat queen h7, but the knight is defending it. The other idea can be knight g5, g5, bishop g5 with the idea of bishop h6. Both look tempting, to tell you the truth. But what to do? How many of you just want to move the queen away? I know that's unromantic there, but think about it as your game, yeah? Bishop takes g5 is what you want to do. Now, this is something where you have to really be careful. When you work on this game, I mean, right now we are doing it quickly, but when you are doing it, I would take time and I would think bishop g5, h g5, knight g5. What next? What is my idea? Am I going knight e4, the other knight to e4, so that if he takes queen h7 mate, but then he has bishop f5, trying to control h7 square. So all of this e4, e5 is coming. That's what many people are saying. But okay, let's see what happens. It happened. It happened. You played the Tal move. Awesome. Of course, now we take with the knight, right? He goes bishop f5. And now your move again. Tal had to sacrifice, yeah. There. What do you do next now? Come on. You've sacrificed a piece. You have to figure out what to do. E4 or knight C4? Yeah, both look interesting. Both look into knight C4. Knight C4, I don't know. Take EF6, there's nothing happening. So E4 looks great. Let's see what you guys have come up with. E4 is the main move that is being recommended. Okay, let's go for it. Let's play E4. You played E4, your move is okay, but the game continued with F4. Maybe he started with F4. Now this move, you have to think about it. Why did you miss F4? Did you consider it when you were thinking? Now knight at 7, it's your move. What should you play here? Come on, think. White to move. It's an important moment. Everyone wants to go E4. Okay. Still. Let's see. I'm not sure about this move, E4. Although the major move is E4. E4, knight G5. What's the plan, guys? E4. You played E4, your move is okay. The game continued with G4. See? Think about it. That here G4. If bishop takes G4, queen at 7, mate. So G4, really classy move he took here. Now think, what are the possibilities? Did you think about this move? Just imagine that when you train like this, you're writing down which move is yours. Yours was E4. Wrong. This was no G4. Then after game ends, like this is maybe a 20 move game, how many of your moves actually matched with the great Mikhail Tal? Here, what do you play? Come on. This one seems straightforward. No, queen takes G5, Shreyas Kundu. We'll just go bishop takes G4, right? FG5 dynamics chess, then just BG6. Doesn't look bad. Enjoy crafts. I like your move. Vandana Chelappa. I like your move. Vaibhav Gautam. Yes. Deven Tiwari. Best player Jonah. Yeah. This looks like the best. G takes F5. Let's see if that is what everyone wants to play. Yes. G takes F5 is the move everyone wants to do. G takes F5. Knight at 7. Now, what do you do? Again, it's time for you to think. He has queen F5. He wants to take back the pawn. His knight is well defended. Knight wants to maybe come to F6. What do you do? Bishop E4. Many want to play. Nice, interesting. How about E4? It also looks strong. Rook F3, but queen F5. I don't like rook F3. Let's see what are the moves that are suggested in chat chess moves. Bishop E4. E4, very few people, yeah? Bishop E4 is the main move. I understand your ideas, guys, but the main thing is that Bishop E4 has no threat. If you play Bishop E4 and try for F6, he'll take with the knight. It's no point because there's no mate. So I would say rook F3, queen F5, rook H3 with the idea of Bishop E4. But then knight F6 maybe. Let's go with the move that you guys have suggested, Bishop E4. Your move is okay, but the game continued with rook F3. Oh, he takes on C3. What? Takes on C3. What sort of move is that? What sort of move is that? Why did he take and why did he not play queen F5? Bit surprised. Bishop c3. I mean, what do you do? Take back, yeah? Rook h3, queen f5, maybe. So rook h3, I don't. Rook h3, queen f5, bishop e4, queen g6 check, rook g3. But b takes c3 मार देते हैं ना, क्या प्रॉब्लम है? Let's see what's the move. Rook h3. Oof. Everyone Mikhail Tal mode. But then bd4 check also is there. I like just taking back on c3. But I have to go with what you guys say. Majority, yeah? Oh, he played it. He played it. Guys, he played your move. Bishop d4. Okay. And now what? Now what do you do? It's a check. e3 maybe? King h1. King h1 and e3. That's going to be the fight. King h1 is winning. So king h1. No, the game continued with e3. And at this point, he resigned. Because queen f5, there is bishop e4, I guess. Or just, yeah, bishop e4. And if the bishop moves, queen h7 is hanging. Anyway, this was a game that we just saw. And what I would do is I would then analyze it a little more deeply as to why my certain moves were not played. So for example, let's say I can use stockfish, and or I can just type down the moves, but I'll just try to understand as to why bishop g5, g5, knight g5, bishop f5, f4, knight h7, e4 was a good move that you all suggested. He went g4, knight g5, gf5, knight h7, and now rook f3. And yeah, the main move was queen f5, and this is what we didn't know how to react, right? But to it, the best move is rook h3. Okay, knight f6, king h1 with the idea of rook g1. Wow. And then you learn how to attack here. And I would analyze it a bit more deeper. Sorry. Bishop c3, blunder, rook here, bishop d4, e3, and now if queen f5, there is bishop e4. Nice, yeah? So you, at the end, what you do is you generally figure out how many moves of Tal did you find, and you can find a player whose style is similar to yours. Aggressive, if you're aggressive, maybe some attacking player. Alekhine would be nice. Kasparov would be good. The positional, maybe Smyslov, maybe Petrosian, maybe Vidit, maybe Carlson, someone like that. And then you can try and do this. Did you like this idea, guys? Did you like what we just did right now? Did you get a new thing, a new weapon to try and work on? Ganesh Antad says yes. Vandana Chelappa says yes. Dynamic Chess says awesome idea. Play Hard says yes, yes, badhiya. Fantastic. Okay, how can we try this? I think the third link in the description is ChessBase and Mega Database. You can get yourself that. I would recommend that. It's a very good investment for any serious player. If you are not sure whether you want to invest that, then get a game from online. Just type best games of Alekhine or best games of Tal. Get a game and just use a notebook and pen and do this. Either way, it's just try it out. Okay, by the way, Magnus pushing heavily here, has a great position. Is after bishop g5, rook went b1, rook f3, bishop c1, bishop f6. Look how he's not exchanging. Maybe now check, king d1. Oh, he goes rook f5. He didn't give a check. He gives rook f5. He wants to take here. I think Caruana will go bishop e3. Satish R says, I'm using ChessBase 15. What should I do to get Stockfish? First of all, you should download Stockfish from their website, and then you go to home, create UCI engine. In that, you go there and upload the engine from where you have saved it on your computer when you download it from the internet, and then it will work on ChessBase. Okay, guys, I get a feeling that here Magnus will win. So I'm going to call it a night. Just to give you a small roundup of what has happened today. At this point, Magnus Carlsen is winning his game against Fabiano Caruana. He gave this beautiful exchange sacrifice. Actually, PRT asked, how easy or difficult is it for top players to find a move like rook d4? I think this one is one of the easier sacrifices than general. Not that it's very easy or something like that, but I think it's clear that this bishop is very strong. And that's the reason why you give this sacrifice. And now this is weak, this is weak. So Magnus then slowly built up his position and will win the game and also the tournament. Esipenko and Richard Rapport drew a fighting game. Vidit Gujrathi lost to Mamedyarov, and actually Vidit had a great position. In fact, here he took on h6, queen d4, and now had to go bishop f4 when he would be better, but he blundered with queen g4. In came f5, attacking both the pieces with a pawn 4, defending the mate, and Vidit lost a piece, and with it the game. Anish Giri and Nils Grandelius was an interesting opening duel with White having a good advantage. Actually, Anish had a very good position some point. Then Black had a very nice position. And in fact, here Anish played knight d3 and offered a draw. But after rook c4, it seems like Nils was better. The players agreed to a draw. Sam Shankland versus Sergey Karjakin was a game where the position was interesting till here, but queen b7 was a blunder. After castles, queen b7, queen takes c4. Although white lost a piece here, but the black king is just too exposed, and Shankland attacked relentlessly here. Played a nice game, and after this, Karyakin resigned because this is a massive threat. And even if you try to stop it here, there is queen d5 check followed by rook c6, and you're winning. Duda versus Van Foreest ended in a draw. Interesting battle here between two fighters, and Daniel Dubov could not play this game, so Praggnanandhaa got the full point. In the challengers section, we have a winner, Arjun Erigaisi, playing with white against Nguyen Thai 1. Played a simple opening, got a fine position, took a draw, and ensured his tournament victory, which is important because he qualifies next year to the Masters section. A big result for India. We had Srinath, Arjun's coach here, who told us about Arjun's event, and it was very nice to hear his thoughts. Bear Jonas drew with Zuzhiner. Jumabayev versus Polina Shuvalova ended in victory for uh, Jumabayev, and Surya Ganguly lost his game to Erwin Lamy, and that's how things are. We already have winners in challengers and masters. Magnus Carlsen in masters and Surya Ganguly, Arjun Erigaisi in challengers. For now, I think it was very nice, guys, to have you, and I'll see you all tomorrow for the last round. Thank you all. Bye bye. Good night.